Welcome back to Artificial Intelligence, where we explore what happens when technology doesn't just assist us, it starts watching us. I'm your host, Olisa and Henrietta.
And I'm your co host, Dr. Henrietta Wright. Today's episode, AI Creepers and Peepers, looks at the unseen eyes of technology, how algorithms observe, mimic, and sometimes manipulate our creativity and learning.
Because we live in an era where the watchers aren't humans anymore. AI doesn't sleep, doesn't blink, and never forgets.
So let's take a look at the rise of these digital voyeurs. Artists have always observed, but AI doesn't just observe, it harvests. It doesn't study with empathy, it studies with hunger. Every click, sketch, or post becomes material for the machine's gaze.
The creepy part is that we're complicit. We feed it, often without knowing it. Every online art post, every digital classroom notes, these aren't private moments anymore. They're pieces of a data set.
And that's what makes AI a voyeur, not a collaborator. It sees, but it doesn't understand. It mimics, but it doesn't feel.
And now we got to think about the classroom design concept. In classroom, AI has become the silent proctor, grading essays, scanning engagement levels, predicting dropout risk. But we forget every prediction comes from a gaze.
And that gaze is often biased. It doesn't see the student who is quiet because they're processing. It doesn't understand the late paper that comes from caring for a sibling. AI reads data points, not lives.
And teaching is human surveillance with purpose. We watch to nurture. However, AI watches to categorize.
So let's take a look at artists under the lens. I know the feeling firsthand. My artwork was once put into an AI data set without consent. It learned my tones, brush textures, even how I balance light and shadow. It was like someone walked through my studio while I was away and left fingerprints everywhere.
Now that's the unsettling reality. AI creativity begins where someone's privacy ends. It consumes so much that it can tell admirations from appropriation.
And that's what worries me the most is the audience cannot tell either. They can't see the theft because the image looks so perfect.
So now we want to really think about if it's so perfect, what about the ethics of observation? The ethics of watching has changed. Before, we observe to learn. Now, we observe to profit.
Exactly. A teacher's observation builds trust. AI's observation builds a profile. It's the difference between mentorship and monitoring. One heals, the other quantifies.
And that raised the bigger question. When everything becomes measurable, what happens to mystery?
Okay, that's creeping into creativity.
Mm-hmm.
AI doesn't just creep into our data, it creeps into our instincts. I see students hesitate before sketching, primarily because they feel they cannot draw. They say, let's see what AI would do first. That creates paralysis, letting the machine peek into your imagination before you do.
It's subtle but dangerous. We begin outsourcing inspiration. Soon, our creativity becomes a remix of what becomes statistically like before.
True creativity isn't predictive, it's disruptive, and disruption can't be coded.
And now we have this illusion of consent. We all click I agree, often without reading. Those clicks become the silent permission slip for AI to know us intimately. It knows our preference, our tone, even our rhythm of fatigue.
And that illusion of consent is everywhere. Artists upload portfolios for exposure and unknowingly feed training models. Students submit assignments to plagiarism checkers that later feed generative tools.
Concepts should be informed, not buried in fine print. But in the digital world, the fine print is the contract.
All right, so what are the art of boundaries or the boundaries of art?
Mm.
Okay, boundaries are not barriers. They're the architect of trust. We need digital ethics that protect creators and learners from invisible exploitation.
I like that. That means asking real questions. Who's collecting this data? How is it being used? Can it be deleted? Transparency isn't optional, it's survival.
And that's just as artists sign their work. AI systems should sign their sources. If you borrow from humanity, you owe it acknowledgement.
You owe it acknowledgement and you owe it to the culture. Now we think about cultural peeping and power. Let's go deeper because AI isn't just watching individuals, it's watching culture. Data sets scraped from communities, traditions, and languages that were never part of the digital conversation.
Yes, it's what I call digital colonialism, taking from cultures that didn't consent to be mined, indigenous patterns, African symbology, Asian calligraphy, all being repurposed as aesthetic inspiration.
But these aren't just designs, they're living knowledge system. And once distracted, they lose context, distorted behind the symbol.
Which means the battle isn't just about privacy, it's about preserving meaning itself. So let's look at resistance of reflection. Reflection is the resistance. When we pause, when we take back control of our narrative, reflection forces us to see the gaze, looking back, and decide what it means to be seen.
That's why I think slowing down is the most radical act. Reflection rewires observation. It turns being watched into being aware.
Yeah. And when we model reflection for our students, we teach them how to see with empathy, not efficiency.
Yeah. And that's the cost of being seen. Because let's be real, being visible has a price. In the past, it means exposure. Today, it means data. Every like, every share, every selfie is a small transaction.
Yes, and yet invisibility has a cost too. Artists and educators who resist the system risk becoming irrelevant or unseen in algorithmic spaces. That's the paradox. To be seen is to be consumed. To be unseen is to disappear.
Wow. And the only real way forward is conscious visibility, choosing what to reveal, how to reveal it, and why.
Ah, so let's redefine the gaze. Maybe the answer isn't to reject AI's gaze, but to retrain it. Teach it to see ethically. Teach it to understand the weight of what it observes.
That's the heart of it. Technology doesn't have eyes, it has mirrors. What it reflects depends on what we feed it.
So we must feed it responsibly with truth, context, and conscience. Otherwise, we'll raise the algorithm that can only stare and never see. So, the call is to see differently. AI may be watching, but so are we. The real question is, will we watch passively or with purpose?
Because when we reclaim the gaze, we change the story. We stop being subjects of observation and become co authors of how technology learns from us.
The creepers and peepers will always exist, but awareness transforms fear into agency.
And that's what makes our work art official. Until next time, keep seeing, keep questioning, and keep creating.
And that is official.